Hi, welcome back to Finally Revealed in episode number 48 of Be the Change. In this episode, I want to talk about influence. There are ways to change the world by our actual change, starting a new business, moving to a new area, getting married, having children, going into politics, doing something forcefully or obvious to make a change in the world. There are more subtle ways to make a change as well. And this week I want to talk about one of those, which is influence. We can think about how we influence other people, and way at the beginning we talked about how we influence other people, and we also looked at who influences us. So as you're going through this today, and then you think about it going forward, think about how you have been influenced by other people and which ones for you, for your particular life at that particular time, and based upon who you were at the time, what was the thing that made you influenced by that person? Was it something they said? Was it something you saw? Was it something you learned about them from another person or from an objective place? Maybe it was a historical figure. Maybe it was somebody that you knew generally, or maybe in your company or in your neighborhood or in a group that you're in, but you didn't know them personally, and yet they had some type of influence over you. Think about that as you go through these different things so that we can all become more conscious and realize how we influence other people. I had a conversation with my mom several years ago, and she was looking at some contributions that wealthy people had made to set up organizations or foundations, and she was measuring herself against these people and these objectively big accomplishments. And she was commenting that she did not see herself in that category, and maybe she had made some mistakes in her life that she didn't have a big enough impact. And I told her, every single person has an impact. Every single person is important, and every single person has an impact on the world. It's not always obvious. It's not always a giant splash. As we talked about at the very beginning of this series, we start with a drop, then it's a trickle, then it's a splash, then it's a wave. It grows like that. You don't always see the extent of your influence in your daily life, in a month, in a year, or maybe even in the entire time that you are alive. But you have to know it's felt. And maybe we should start telling each other how we were influenced by someone. Unless someone's on a stage accepting an award or was nominated for something and reaches back to thank the person who graciously nominated you, we don't always pinpoint those turning points in our life or those things that someone else did or said or that we watched or observed or learned about, that we incorporated, we adopted it as our own, and by impacting us, it then impacted everyone else that we come in contact with. Okay? So, influence. Influence is helping someone change for their better, to fulfill their mission, their goals, their objectives. We don't always know what other people's goals or objectives are. We don't all talk about those things a lot. I wish we did, but we don't always. So when we influence someone else, the only time we really know about it is if they come back and tell us and explain to us. Maybe you were a teacher and you had a situation that you shared with the class as a part of the lesson, and a student came back and said, thank you, Mr. Jones. That really meant something to me. This was happening in my life at the time, and this is what you did or said, and this is what it meant to me. It made a difference in my life. Thank you. All right? That's a great example. So, influencing someone is not obvious always. Sometimes you never know about it. And it is the little things. It's not directly related to, it can be, but it's not usually directly related to how they take it. And you influence people by them you're watching my video, so you're hearing any of the videos that you've seen of mine, you've heard me, what I've said, different stories or how I relate it or how I explain it, and that can influence you in some way in your life based upon what's going on for you and little things that might help you. We look for things that apply to us. And influence, I think, can be stronger than persuasion because it's not right at you. It comes around the side, and it is something that the person who's receiving it values. It's judged by the person who's receiving it. So, as I say, we want to be conscious about what we're doing. We want to be aware of what we're doing. We want to have great intentions for the benefit of our family, our kids, if we're a teacher, our students, if we're at work, our employees, our customers. We want to look out for them. We want to have good energy when we're putting things out there so that it can be received in a positive way. So that's one way, generally, by your energy that you can influence other people. And here are some other ways. When you are online, are you on social media? Are you on LinkedIn or Facebook or MeWe or Parler or Twitter or Instagram or any of those? Are you on there professionally? Are you on there in a personal way? Do you put your own posts? Do you put a live story? Do you do a live stream? Do you interact on other people's pages? Whether you are supporting someone, whether you are discussing something, whether you are in a meme war with them, whether you are being critical, whether you are saying your piece, whether you're announcing a family milestone, whatever it is it a public post? Is it a private post? Do you know your audience? And do you know their audience? Because all of those people have access to what you wrote. And hopefully they take it in the context in which it was meant or intended. But we realize you're not having a private conversation. You are having a conversation with everyone else in that person's community. Or if it's public, it could be the whole world. Now, a lot of people are on one of the social medias. They have a small group of people and they can rant and rave or espouse their theories or whatever, but they're only ever talking to that same general group, unless that is further shared. So you also might want to think about that as far as a broken record aspect or something else like that. But you are not just talking to one person, and how you come across, how they receive your energy, what you're talking about, how you are expressing it, how you are typing. Do you have typos? Do you use complete sentences? Do you use a lot of punctuation? Do you use a lot of emojis or characters? All of that is coming across in the post. So interaction online. Likewise, emails. How do you write your emails? Do you have a beginning, a middle, and a closing? How are you on LinkedIn? How are you on Twitter? How are you in text messages? Do you do a lot of group texting? What type of level of formality do you use, if any? How do you come across to someone else is how you influence them or can influence them. It's a reflection of you, and each one of us has our own expression in our own way. So online is the first one. The next one is one-on-one. Private conversations, tone, mannerism, where the conversation is held. Is it spontaneous or is it formal? Is it a scheduled appointment? Is it a lunch meeting? How is the interaction starting? Is the conversation freestyle? In other words, you're just catching up, or is it a specific reason that you're getting together and a reason that you're having this communication? And how does it go? How are you leaving people, whether you are correcting them, praising them, scolding them, arguing with them? How are you making them feel? That is influence. That's another indicator of influence. The biggest one, obviously, is your actions, your what you're doing out in the world, what you're doing in your business, all of these things that I've already just said about communication play into it. But are you having tangible results? And I don't want this to sound superficial, but how do you dress? How do you present yourself? How do you show up in the world? All of our actions have an impact. We don't always know how far it's going to go, but are you in charge of a fundraiser? Did you turn in all the money? Did you give an accounting? Did you embezzle some of it? Do you cheat on your taxes? Do you pay your bills? Do you follow through on commitments? Do you honestly schedule things to have enough time? Do you negotiate or bargain for extensions of deadlines, or do you ignore them? What type of conduct and actions do you exhibit? And then how do these play into your everyday life with people who work for you, with people who you work for, with people in your community, with strangers, with a waitress in a restaurant, with a flight attendant on a plane? How do you come across when you're angry, when you're rushed, when you are excited, when you are pushing toward a deadline, when you are stressed? How do you come across in all of your interactions? There's always somebody watching us, even when we don't think they are. And that's usually when we have the most influence and the greatest impact. Being conscious means being aware. We don't want to be so preoccupied or paranoid that somebody is scrutinizing everything we do or say, because that can inhibit us from being natural. We want to, over all of this, we want to come across authentically. You want to be yourself. Other people want to see the real you. But as you're being the real you, be aware of the influence that you have. And your stature as to someone else makes your influence come across in a different way than it does when you're dealing with another person. When it's somebody, a young person in your family who may look up to you in any particular area. Maybe you were a great sports star in school and you've got a child who is following along in those footsteps, just because, not necessarily following along, but they are on a similar path. You have information that they can learn from, so they're going to gravitate towards you for that reason. But they're going to see you in other settings as well, and it can really help them in a positive way. So we just want to keep some of these things in mind, and now go back and think about who influenced you. Did they give you encouragement? Did they help you see what's possible? In the context of the Be the Change that we've gone through this year, one of the best things that we can influence other people about is to encourage them to pursue change for themselves. We change and grow every day, either by default or intentionally. And I think it's great if someone knows or notices something that we have done that gives them encouragement, whether we say it or not. They say, well, look, she did this, she changed what she was doing, she changed the way she was doing, she came in and did something new and different. Maybe that would help me. Maybe I can do something new and different. What would it be? It opens them up to possibilities. And there are endless possibilities for each one of us. And if we can make a difference in somebody else's life simply by showing them that a change is possible, that could have a huge impact. So I hope this was helpful. If it was, leave me a thumbs up. Leave any comments or questions below. Subscribe to see the other videos. Share this with somebody it might benefit. And come back and see me next time. Thanks for watching.